Well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery. It's a beautiful Monday morning, June 19th, 2023. We get together with our distribution partners most weekday mornings at 8 o'clock Central to talk about strategies, tips, techniques, share success stories, and support each of you. Today is just a bit more of, I guess, a housekeeping issue. We shared with you, I believe, last week that we're growing our internal team. So Madison, our new customer support manager, started last Monday, a week ago today, and she is responsible for working with new clients that have recently contracted and then guiding them up to the point that they've received their first tranche of funding. So in many cases, she's talking to them daily or every couple days, getting them that first tranche, because as you know, when clients enroll in the Access to Capital program, there is no upfront cost. There's no upfront cost. Now, those clients know that there is a $2,500 refundable deposit, and our promise is, hey, you don't have to pay that up front. Instead, what we'll do is we'll find you financing for that first tranche, which may only be $2,500, might be $25,000, might be a lot more. But the bottom line is we help every client get their first tranche of funding, and out of that, they pay their refundable deposit. Now, some clients, frankly, don't want to use a first tranche to pay the deposit, so they pay it outright, and that's not uncommon. But her role is, as each client becomes a client, she is assigned to them, Madison that is, and works with them to get them their first tranche, because once they have their first tranche and/or have paid their refundable deposit, now we move into the implementation stage. The implementation stage is where we're building out their business plan and financial projections, those things that we call the loan package. I do forewarn you, and I had a client this morning. He's like, loan package, why do I need a loan package? Well, what you and I know, or what you and I should know, is loan packages are instrumental if we're trying to get a business loan, right? Because what you and I are doing, well, let's remove that. What the client wants is a big, we'll say 100,000 plus. What the client wants is a big business loan or line of credit, whatever form the financing's in. Well, great. So we need to look credible enough to the lender to get approved. We need to meet their underwriting criteria. So having a loan package is how we communicate that to the lender. It's things, again, like the business plan and financial projections, support documents, and so forth. So we're really good at that. It's what I used to do when I worked for the SBA. It's what we do now. So there's no upfront cost for the Access to Capital, but they are coming to us to borrow money, right? That's why they would sign up. They come to you and I because they want to borrow money to start or grow a business. Out of their first tranche, they pay the refundable deposit. Everyone is guaranteed funding for first tranche. Again, it could look different in terms of structure or amount. Then we build a loan package. So not the topic of today. Madison now works with those clients from the time that they sign up until they've had their first tranche, which then allows us to move forward and build their loan package. Great. So what we're talking about today is not Madison, but instead is the new collections department. So how this ties together is we're adding additional team members that have specific roles. So Madison's working with those new clients you're bringing aboard to get them their first tranche capital. Today, we're talking about those people that are not complying and how we're going to handle those. Because what we don't want is my time or Madison's time, or we'll call our operational team. We don't want our operational team bogged down with dealing with incompliant clients, because we need to be working with compliant clients, right? We need to make sure that we're helping those people that are engaged in doing what they promised to do. So the way to accomplish that is to create a different department that works with people that are not complying. And that is our topic today. So as of today, we're rolling out our new collections department. So last week, we rolled out our new customer service department, which Madison runs. Today, Monday, June 19th, 2023, we're rolling out our new collections department. Now, we hope to shut the collections department down because it's not needed. Hopefully everyone will do what they promised to do, and we won't even need a collections department. That would be a wonderful goal. Just imagine in our country if we didn't need police, right? If everyone followed the law and there were no criminal activities, we wouldn't need a police department. We wouldn't need an FBI, we'd need a CIA, we wouldn't need local police or county police or state police. Think how much money we would all save if everyone just followed rules, the legal rules. Well, in our world, we wish everyone would just follow their contractual rules. Unfortunately, from time to time, people don't. That is why the collections department exists. So as stated here, unfortunately, from time to time, we have clients. Sometimes we even have distribution partners, and that's really surprising. I mean, all of you are great, but from time to time, we'll have someone that signs up, for instance, as a small business consultant, and then they don't do what they promised to do. So of course, what we want to do is fix it amenably, but in some cases, they breach. So the point is, when we have clients or hopefully never, but if we have clients or distribution partners who breach their agreements, instead of our operational team needing to spend time and energy with them, we send them over to the new collections department. So hopefully this will never impact you or your clients, but we just want you to know how the organization is growing. Well, we're growing, so we have to evolve and have new departments that have specific functions. But with that being said, our goal, absolute goal, and we said this on the first Zoom training of January, we said we want to have in 2023 and going forward, we want to have 100% client and distribution partner satisfaction. We need to be doing everything that we promised to do so you and your clients are happy. Obviously, we need clients and distribution partners to do what they promised to do. If they don't, instead of getting us bogged down, they'll go to the collections department. So next paragraph. In the cases where we can't resolve payments owed under a contract, we've opened the new collections department, and it's a standalone resource. So I really want to emphasize that. So they have a different phone number, a different email, different staff. Truthfully, I don't have access to the records. So if someone defaults and we can't resolve it, we'll say on the operational side, they go over to the collections department and we're no longer involved. So we don't know the status of that. We're not involved with that, a different team. And we think that's the healthiest way to proceed, is we want to spend our time working with the distribution partners and clients that are engaged. People that have breached the agreement, someone else can handle that. With that being said, our investors thought we should describe to you how the department is set up. So here we go. And that's their next page. All right. So the new collections department functions independently and separately from our normal operations. I think we've covered that already. They're staffed by dedicated personnel, so there's not an overlap. So the people that work in collections are no longer involved with operations. Those of us that are involved with operations are not involved with collections. The two departments kind of match up only to the extent that there's a handoff of someone that was in operations that's now in collections, but other than that, completely separate. And as I mentioned a moment ago, different phone number, different email, different, separate. Now, there's some ramifications of that though, right? By having completely separate operations and collections, that's great because that allows us on the operational side, myself included, to work with people that are doing what they promised to do. The downside is that once a client has been transferred over to the collections department, then we're not allowed to interact with them. So now they have to work with the collections department. So we'll never want to be rude, but if we have someone that's been handed off to collections and they try to schedule with us on the operational side or try to call us, we're prohibited from interacting with them. They've got to get over with the collections team and resolve that issue. And maybe it's a mistake, maybe it's a misunderstanding, but now it's handled by a different group. So in general, when an account is transferred to the collections department, it's in default. So that's normally the trigger. So we don't just hand people over to the collections department because of no good reason. It just means that they're in default of the agreement. So then there's not going to be further services performed. And that, so I think you see that line in the sand. Operations is where we're actively working, and there could be confusion, concerns, frustration, whatever, and we'll work through that. But if there is a breach, a default, then it leaves operations and goes to collections. The collections department is fair, but very aggressive. Unpaid debts will not go away. The investors have the expectation that if there's a breach of contract, the money will be collected. The contractual late fees, in our contractual agreements, we have late fees that are, of course, legally compliant. And so while the collections department may work with someone and maybe even waive late fees if they get on a payment plan or resolve it, those late fees are real. And in the state of Texas, there's no maximum on late fees. So most of our contracts have a $50 a day late fee, not because we want to collect $50 a day. We just want people to do what they promised to do. But think about that for a second. $50 a day times 30 days in a month, that's $1,500 in late fees. Some people think, oh, well, no, you can't charge that much in late fees. But legally, you actually can. It varies by state, but in Texas, you can. The collections department works closely with a very large law firm, and so they make sure that everything they do is legally compliant. But again, the balances will be collected. People may pay voluntarily and maybe involuntary payment, but they'll collect. Second bullet, when a file is transferred to the collections department, this is my understanding of what they're going to do. The first thing that's typically going to happen is there's going to be a new invoice sent from the collections department. They use QuickBooks, and it's going to give the people that receive it several options. Do they want to pay by credit card? Great. Do they want to pay by bank account? Great. Do they disagree or have concerns about the balance? Great. They're instructed how to resolve it, to call them, not our operational side. And if they need to set up a payment arrangement, they can do so. But it's important to understand that they do accept credit. I think they're accepting Discover, MasterCard, Visa, American Express. I don't think they're accepting PayPal, but I think they are accepting Apple Pay. But I don't know. If that issue comes up, the collections department will handle it. But lots of ways to resolve it. Now, if the collections department is unable to resolve it, again, as I stated, it won't go away. So what will happen is they'll report it on credit reports. And so that's something new that our operational side never really focused on. We were just focused on doing what we promised to do operationally. But the collections department will report derogatories. And that can be particularly devastating to people that are trying to get business loans or home loans or what have you, especially if they're on some sort of payment plan and they default on the payment plan. Now there could be multiple derogatories listed. And so they have the option based upon the contractual agreement if it's reporting on the business and or personal credit reports. So that's a pretty good incentive to get some people to pay. Now, what you and I know is some people use credit repair. So they're like, hey, go ahead and report on my credit. I don't care. But the difference here is credit repair normally only works when people dispute items that the data furnisher can't or won't validate. But they have a strong commitment from the attorneys and from the investors that we're working with to validate that. So credit repair won't work to get these items removed. And then the collections department will prepare the file for litigation. And so then that's where wage garnishments, bank levies, or seizure of assets get involved. So again, we're separating out collections, which is kind of the thing that we don't want to talk about. So if we can't keep people compliant, goes to the collections department. And then those of us like you and I on the operational side we don't have to worry about it. This is important to you because as a small business consultant, what if you refer a client in and then they breach, they don't pay, they don't do what they promised to do? That not only impacts our income, but it impacts your income. So this is all an effort to help you make more money as well as us to make more money. Now, anytime a client or any of you have questions or concerns, communication is key. It's vital. And so we like to schedule calls. We had a gentleman, and he's a business owner, so you figure he's pretty sharp, but I had sent him my Calendly link. He had an issue. Really, it was just because he didn't understand, but it's fine. And so I'd sent him the Calendly link a couple times, and he didn't schedule a call. So finally I called him and I said, sir, it's important that we schedule a call so that way you're prepared for the call and at your desk, and I'm prepared and I'm at my desk. It took me like 30 minutes literally to help him figure out how to schedule a call. Not because Calendly is difficult, but not everyone's as intelligent as you are. So we want to schedule calls anytime that there's issues. Now, frankly, we should have weekly calls with all clients to make sure we're on track. We should be having weekly calls with each of you to make sure that we're doing what we promised to do. So communication's key. Our contact information. So this is the operational side. So no changes here. So any of you that need to reach out to us, no change. If anyone gets moved into collections, then they'll be contacted and work with that team. Okay. So not a real pleasant conversation, but important nonetheless. I think if you want to take the good away from it is that we're growing. We've separated a separate department that will handle collections. And what's valuable about that is that allows those of us on the operational side to focus on taking care of the clients and distribution partners that are doing what they promised to do. So who has any questions, comments, concerns? You can type it into the Q&A box, question and answer box of Zoom. It's like a chat box. So Eddie, I see you've got a question if you want to type it in there. So we're really wanting to field questions right now on this topic. If you have different topics, let's maybe table them for tomorrow and we can have more of a round robin. But this is important for you to understand. If you're a small business consultant, you have clients that are not complying, now you understand how that'll be resolved. If you're one of our state directors and you have either clients or even maybe you have consultants on your team that are not being compliant, now you understand how it'll be addressed. Maybe most importantly, it's crucial to recognize that the collections department is separate from the operational team. So once someone goes over to collections, then our operational team will not be able to assist them until the collections department essentially releases them back to us if they get everything resolved. So I think this is great. I think this is good business, separates operational from collections, and you and I can focus on helping people. We'll do what we promise to do. And of course, we'll ask them to do what they promise to do. So Eddie, I think you have your hand. Well, I know you have your hand up. If you'll type the question Q&A. Anyone else have questions about this? We've got a big group this morning. Anyone have questions? All right, so Timothy's asking, what are the most frequent breaches that we see or issues? And that's a very intelligent, intuitive question. So let me answer that two ways, Timothy. We'll look at it from a client perspective, the most often client issue we have, and then we'll look at it from a distribution partner, a small business consultant. So, because if we, and Timothy's right, if we understand where the issues most often come up, then we're most likely to be able to change or fix or improve to minimize that happening. So kudos to Timothy for taking that analytical approach. On a client side, the most frequent problem or issue that we have is clients will enroll in the Access to Capital program, and then they'll fill out the one-page app so we can look for funding offers for them. We call that first tranche financing. And so what we do is we promise every client that enrolls in Access to Capital, number one, no upfront cost. Number two, we'll help them arrange financing for the $2,500 refundable deposit so we can build their loan package. So the biggest issue, the most frequent issue, is that when we get clients funding offers for their first tranche, sometimes they don't want to accept what's offered to them. Now, again, what's offered to, we have a consortium of over 40 different banks, credit unions, and alternative lenders. So when someone signs up, their initial offers are based upon them, their credibility, and how the marketplace, the lending marketplace, perceives them as being risky or not. Because you and I have not started working on their loan package yet, so it's not like we've made them more credible yet. That's their baseline. So with that being said, then the most frequent issue is people will sign up. Everyone will get at least one funding offer, but amazingly, some clients will not want to accept any of those funding offers. Now, if they don't want to accept any, they're not required to, right? Our model is not, oh, you've got this funding offer, you have to take it. Absolutely not. But the agreement says there is a refundable deposit. We agree to that. That's to build the loan package. It comes back to you once we've completed at least $100,000 capital raise. All that's in writing. You won't have to pay it up front. We'll find you financing. So again, the biggest issue on the client side is when people get those offers, sometimes they don't want to accept any of the offers, which is okay, but then we would invoice them for the refundable deposit, because the loan package is essential. You'd almost have to be financially illiterate to think, oh, I don't need a loan package to get a big business loan. I can just ask for it. But you and I know that's bullshit, right? You have to look good on paper. We need the business plan, the financial projections, the support documents. That's what you and I do with the loan package. So when people don't want to pay the refundable deposit, either through financing that they've been offered or out of pocket if they prefer, then we're at a stalemate, right? Because they've enrolled. We've promised to help them raise at least $100,000. They're not going to qualify for that if we don't build a loan package, and they don't want to pay the refundable deposit they promised. So that, in summary, to Timothy's question, is what's the number one problem that we run into with clients in running into a stopping point is they don't do what they promised to do. They don't either accept one of the financing offers or they don't pay the refundable deposit. Because now we're just stuck, right? Because we've promised the client at least $100,000. We promised to work with the client to qualify for at least $100,000. But what's integral to that is building the loan package so they look credible enough. So that would be issue number one to Timothy's question. What do we do about that? All we can do is just educate, help them understand what is a loan package? Why is it important? What does it include? It's necessary for a big business loan. Now, if you just want a personal loan, you wouldn't need a loan package. What's included in that? We'll refer back to the agreement, make sure, hey, what we're doing is we're following the agreement. Do you feel that we're doing what we promised to do? We'd like you to do what you promised to do. So education is the key there. The other side of Timothy's question was in terms of distribution partner problems. What's the biggest issue there? What can we learn from it? What can we do to avoid it? Well, when we bring on small business consultants, there's no upfront cost. There is a license fee, but with the license fee, we agree to waive it perpetually. We don't want any small business consultant to pay the license fee. We don't. And that's the way the agreement is written. Hey, sign up, we'll train you, we'll support you, provide you the tools, we'll provide you the free website. There's a 30-day grace period. And now let's go out and help people. Let's go execute. With that, we're fulfilling our mission, you're making money, and you're compliant. So more succinctly, the number one issue we face with our small business consultants, not often, not always, but just the most frequent issue would be those that sign up and then they don't execute, they don't participate. So if that happens, then what we normally do is we would contact them what can we do different? How can we train you more? How can we support you more? What's missing? Do you need free leads? We'll give you free leads. And we launched last week the Affinity program. Let's go work with churches and chambers. What can we do to help you as a small business consultant be more successful? But what we can also do is extend their grace period, because every new small business consultant gets an initial 30-day grace period to kind of get their legs underneath them and get a sales funnel going. And we offer to extend that if they need. So that was a long-winded answer, but I guess from Timothy's question, what can we do to make sure that clients don't fall into that? Is just educate and support. From a small business consultant, most frequent issue is they sign up and then they see it as voluntary, that they don't engage, they don't participate. And I don't know what else to do. We're on these Zoom trainings most weekday mornings. We have one-on-ones. We provide the free website. If you have ideas what we could do to free leads, I don't know what else to do. All right, so Gregrick has a question, but sounds like we need to address yours one-on-one, Gregrick. So of course you can reach out to us. Eddie says he hit the hand by mistake. Eddie, well, then Eddie had a follow-up on time frame, and we get that asked frequently. So normally to build out the loan package, it's really set up to be a 4-week process. You can call it 30 days or you say 28 days, but that's really the way it's set up. And you'll see that when we onboard clients, they're receiving their onboarding, and we have the financial literacy curriculum, which is not required, but it's encouraged. It's set up to be addressed over a 30-day period. And so normally we should be able to build a loan package out in 30 days. Could be quicker based upon the client's compliance and what they have put together. In other words, do they already have a business plan? Well, that makes it quicker. Normally we allocate 1 week to build out the business plan. If they already have a business plan, it makes it quicker. I was talking to a client this morning. He doesn't have financials, doesn't have a balance sheet, doesn't have an income statement. That's okay. We'll help him with that, but that's going to add a little time, not more than the 30 days, but that's going to, part of the 30 days is normally, well, technically 1 week is allocated to getting the business plan put together. Obviously we could move forward quicker if the client participates. We normally allow 1 week to get the financials put together. But again, if they already have those, then we're faster. But the answer to your question, Eddie, is normally we need 30 days to build the loan package. Now, what I offered the client this morning, and I'll say here on record now, if a client says, well, I can't wait 30 days, I need to go to funding now, then that's fine. We'll go to funding now. But you and I know what we're doing. By building their loan package, we're helping them become more credible so they qualify for more money with better terms. And if they don't want to follow those steps, then they're the client. We can go apply for funding right now. It's kind of like if you and I wanted to be a mixed martial art fighter. And so you sign up for some program and you've got a training curriculum. You're going to work on your strength and your fighting skills and your diet. And we'll just throw it out there. Say it's a 30-day process. And you say, oh, no, I'm ready to go fight today. Okay, go hop in the ring today. But if you've not done your strength training, you've not done your improved your technique, then the chances of you winning that match aren't as high. You might still win, or you might have to have a smaller competitor. So again, when we're building a loan package, it's not meant to be some bureaucratic delay. It's just logical, right? We need to look credible to go for business funding. We assess what the client has. We help them fix what they don't have. And we want it to be as fast as possible. Okay, so there is the answer to Eddie's question of how long in the loan package. It's designed to be a 4-week process, could be sooner, and depending on the client, it could be longer. Juan asked about how this fits in with the free funding proposal. That's a good question. So our main campaign that we're offering, that we're recommending, is to go out to the marketplace with a free funding proposal. And with the free funding proposal, you each have a website link. All you need to do is collect the prospect's name, email, phone, submitted on there. That comes into us. Then we send them the Adobe app. It's a one-page app. They fill that out and we're able to get them offers. So on the front end, if someone requests a proposal, but they don't complete the app, it's not as if they're incompliant. It's not like they're going to go to the collections department just because they've never completed, and hopefully I'm reading Lon's question correctly, they wouldn't go to the collections department, right? There's no expectations that they've failed, so we don't have to worry about that. Now, what I was mentioning earlier wasn't that, but if a client has enrolled and now we have obligations to them and they're not doing what they promised to do, then that's where we need to try to resolve it. And the underlying point here in close is if we can't resolve it on the operational side, we don't want to get bogged down with people that don't care or don't want to follow the rules. We're going to punt them over to the collections department. The collections department can resolve it. So that way you and I, Lon, are mostly focused on people that are doing what they promised to do so we can deliver results. All right, so wrapping it up. So as I mentioned, last week, we rolled out our new customer support department. Madison's running that. We announced that last Monday. That is open for business. She started work last Monday. And then today, on June 19th, 2023, we're rolling out the new collections department. The collections department is separate from operations, different phone, different email, different people, and they focus on those individuals, whether it be clients or distribution partners that are not doing what they promised to do. So the operational perspective is broken. We can't do operationally what we're supposed to do if the client's not engaged. So we will be back tomorrow morning. If you have questions, comments, concerns, let us know. Again, not the most pleasant conversation, but I think if you take the good away from it is that we're separating out the collections department, allow them to handle the incompliant people, the people that are breaching. So on the operational side, what you and I and our operational team can do is focus on those people that are engaged and doing as they promise, so we can do as we promise. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you back tomorrow morning. Bye-bye.